Good evening. It is Thursday, October 22nd? Is it the 22nd? It is the 22nd. Yeah, I already screwed up the opening, so it's fine. Welcome to another episode of SDGC Live. I am one of your hosts, John. And tonight, if you are listening on one of the many fine podcast services that we are featured on, tonight we have Finn.
Hello.
Hi, Finn. Jeff.
Hello.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
You sound exactly how I feel in my heart. And Brittany.
Hello.
Hi, Brittany. And we have a very cool guest tonight. I am very excited about this because Cissy Jones has an incredible body of work, but Firewatch is one of my favorite narratives this entire generation. And it is a real honor to have you on tonight. Thank you so much for taking time out of what I know is a very busy schedule and goofing off with us for an hour and a half.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, all I got to say during pandemic is thank God for voiceover.
Right. Yeah. No, I could use some of that voiceover work right now because, yeah. So, hey, if you got any projects you think I'd be a good fit for, please let me know.
I mean, we have a similar vocal print. It should work. Right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you've
send Derek.
I'm sure. No, Derek has got like this rich baritone that I could never hope to achieve for myself. But yeah, no, it's a great honor to have you on tonight, Cissy. And for everybody listening on podcast services right now, Cissy has been in a number of very cool roles throughout the video game industry. Not just the video games industry, but you've done animation. You've done voiceover work for a wide body of stuff.
All the things you've done it all. And I figured what we would do tonight for everybody in the audience is we would talk a little bit about your career, maybe ask how you got started, ask about some of your favorite roles. In particular, I wanted to touch on Firewatch because there was a lot of anticipation. Which one's that?
Yeah, it's this game about I don't know, like you watch fires?
Ooh.
You watch Finn, go ahead. What's Firewatch about?
It's Overwatch, but it's during the California
oh my God,
forest
shut
fire.
up, Finn. Finn, you suck. You are the worst.
I don't know why. What did you expect from me?
You are
quality. You're right.
You are
I only bring the A game.
You are absolutely terrible. But no, and if anybody in the audience has a nice wholesome question for Cissy, ask, and if we have time, we will. I promise you, we will address it. And I guess I will go first. Cissy, my first exposure to you was in Firewatch when you play the role of Delilah, which was awesome, and I want to talk a little bit more about that later. But how did you actually get your start as a voice actor? Like, what compelled you to do this?
It's a totally traditional route. I have a business degree and a Spanish degree, and I worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years, and I super hated my life. And one day I heard one of the people from The Simpsons talking about voiceover and how rad it was, and that there was a school in my backyard, and I started taking classes.
That's cool.
No, in all honesty, like my whole life, I always wanted to be a voice in a cartoon, but I didn't know how. I didn't even know it was called voiceover. And it was a beautiful little piece of serendipity because I had gone on a trip with my husband to Alaska, and we were out on the open ocean for 9 days, and you start talking about some weird shit after 9 days. And we were talking about dream jobs, because I was so desperately unhappy in my corporate life. And I said, I've always wanted to be a voice on The Simpsons, but you probably just got to live in Hollywood. And 2 weeks after we got back from that trip is when I heard Nancy Cartwright on the radio, who's Bart Simpson, on the radio talking about voiceover, and it's so great. And by the way, you guys here in the Bay Area, you have one of the best schools in the country right in your backyard. And I was like, hello? I literally called the school that day. I started taking classes that week. And 2 years later, I had an agent in Los Angeles. And I quit my job like this. And,
hell yeah, double freedom rockets.
Wow. And we moved to LA. I had an agent in San Francisco before I had an agent in LA. And my second audition was for Katya in The Walking Dead. And it happened to be my first job. I booked it. And through that job, I met Sean Banneman and Jake Rodkin, who went on to make and they were so happy with my performance as Katya, learning the accents and the emotional notes that she goes through, that they called me and they were like, "Hey, we left Telltale. We started our own company. We're making a game with a female protagonist. Are you in?" And I was like, uh-huh. Yes. And yeah, that was that. I like you said, I am really fortunate enough to work in all the facets of voiceover, and I work my ass off to keep doing that.
It's
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Finn, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
No, I was commenting on how awesome that is. It's really fun how such a small event can change the course of everything you do. That a similar thing happened to me, so it's awesome that you went for it and it has been such a wonderful success.
I have found in my life, and I say this fairly regularly, and y'all are going to probably write me off as a crackpot. That's fine. I have found that if I'm on the wrong path, whether it's relationship or career or what have you, I find that I keep butting up against these steel walls, right? And when it's the right path, when it's the right person, when it's the right job, when it's the right whatever, it comes together like the gears in a zipper, you know? And that's how voiceover was for me. It just, there's no mystery to it. I was like, okay, well, this is it. Like, if this doesn't pan out, I'm going to go get a job at the grocery store because I'm never going back to corporate. But, I was also 30, which is a scary time to make a jump like that.
It really
Right? I had no training. I had some savings. But, getting into voiceover takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And it was terrifying, frankly. But I knew it was going to work out.
I've got a quick question and I want to throw it to somebody else. I know that sometimes, we look at our careers or we look at a career that we would like to have more often. And we think, I was born to do this, which sounds really cheesy on the face of it. But I have looked at numerous different careers throughout my 16-year current career and thought I was really meant to do this. But like now that you are a seasoned voice actor, do you ever have those thoughts like, this is what I was meant to do? Like this is the job that I was absolutely put here to do.
Undoubtedly. Yeah.
That's such a
I
fantastic
never
feeling.
looked back. It's so great. I mean, I can't tell you, working in corporate, I always felt like square peg, round hole. Like I wanted the world, right? I have these big dreams and goals and aspirations, and it's such an old boys club up there.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to be seen as anything other than a secretary. And I had some incredible bosses, and I met some incredible people, and I had some great experiences. But at the end of the day, I just was hollow. And doing this, meeting the people I've met, getting to work on the projects I've worked on, God, every day is so filling and fulfilling. I'm happy. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And not many people really get to say that about their career.
That's true.
No.
And I feel, a little bit spoiled. My dad is a jeweler in Boise, Idaho. And he was one of those guys that just wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he loves going to work because he loves hawking stones. And in a way, it kind of poisoned me, because when I was so miserable, I was like, oh my God, is this life? What have I done? I got to find something better, and then I found it, and I hope I haven't passed that same neuroses on to my children.
That I am so not just happy for you, but grateful that you found your calling, because you're extremely talented at what you do, and I think voices like yours are exactly what this industry needs, especially since you said like a lot of this is still kind of an old boys club, and it's a glass ceiling that is extremely difficult to break, and
yes,
and while I feel like the ceiling is cracking, I don't feel like we've fully broken through yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
but I honestly feel like we're just at the start of the wave.
I think so.
I feel like it's coming,
yeah.
And I'm seeing that more and more. One of the areas that I really have pushed a lot of my effort into lately is movie trailers, because it is all men.
Yep.
In a
That's
world,
true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing everybody thinks of. Don LaFontaine, in a world
In
where
a
you
world.
can
Yeah.
In a world,
right?
Didn't even know he
But
had a
so
name.
when he died, he was prolific, that man. He literally, they would pick him up in a limo at like 7 a.m. and he'd be smoking his cigarettes in the back of the limo. And he'd get to the thing and he'd be like, in a world where blah, 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 blah. All right, see you later. And he'd go to the next session like all day, every day.
Amazing.
That was his life.
Wow.
But when he died, there were about 7 or 8 men that kind of took the mantle and have been doing it ever since. And listen, they're incredibly talented. They're very kind. I like them a lot. I want some of that. And
Yeah.
so I've been really pushing to break into trailers, and I just had my first full campaign for a small movie, but still in September.
That's awesome. Well, and like, as small as, like, you got to start somewhere. Like, that it doesn't matter the size of the hammer. If it breaks the ceiling, then the ceiling's broken. And so Finn, you got your hand up. I see you.
What's going on?
Finn, by the way, this isn't school, dude. Just ask your question. You don't need to raise your hand.
I
Man.
am not here to interrupt people. I will patiently wait my turn.
You are way too
What I
polite.
have to say is designed just to hurt you and Jeff by rolling your eyes back so hard. It's just going to hurt. All right. So you mentioned trying to break into trailers. Do you feel like sometimes you're just banging your head against the wall and like almost as if you're moving a boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down? Like, what's his name?
Sisyphus. Very Sisyphean of you, Finn.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a real question.
Yeah, Finn. Yeah.
If you want to move on,
Please.
I have a real question too, but I
Please. Well, you know what?
Okay.
You've just lost your questioning privileges for now, so it's Brittany's turn.
No,
go ahead.
And you're on 5-minute timeout. Let's go.
Yeah. Brittany, please.
Oh,
Okay,
that was worth it.
so a lot of voice actors say that to get into voice acting, and I don't know when you went to school what you learned specifically, but a lot of voice actors say you have to learn how to act before you can voice act. Do you find that's true, or what do you find is like the key thing that you need when getting into voice acting or learning, I guess?
Acting.
Acting?
Because here's the thing. If I can't take black words on a white piece of paper and make it interesting and believable, you're not going to care.
Yeah.
The director's not going to care. It's not going to sell.
Right.
So if I am not able to act, and I don't get the luxury of facial expressions and body language, then no one cares what your voice sounds like. No one cares if you can do impressions. No one cares if you've got a great Christopher Walken. If you can't act, you're not going to work.
Right. So what's the difference between like voice acting school and acting school, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, so voice acting is learning how to do it without your body. I mean, listen, when I'm behind a microphone, I'm still using my body, but I can't move my mouth. Like, I have to stay on target with my microphone unless I've got, the antlers with all that shit. But that's where you get into like performance capture and motion capture and things like that. But as soon as we get off the phone here, I'm jumping into an acting class with an incredible acting coach to stay sharp, right? So it's very similar. It's just, in a lot of like commercial acting and stuff like that, they'll teach you how to do like, over the shoulder shots and facial stuff and close-ups, and we don't get that. Like, my thing is, you're in a ship and it's bumpy, so I have to get behind the microphone and like it's bumpy and not move on.
That's great.
Is it hard to do when you're working from home? Like, how much of your house have you converted into makeshift recording studio?
I've got a 4x6 closet.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time in there. I used to have like a booth, like a full booth, but then I had a kid and I had to get rid of that room. But yeah, I have a closet that I've decked out with acoustics and preamp and a microphone and a big screen, and thank God for it, because my work has quadrupled.
It's been really fun seeing everyone's just kind of do it yourself DIY recording studios. Just these huge names of people that you just think of when you think voice acting. They just have the most cobbled together setup, and I love it. It's because this is one of the few genres of acting that has not so. It's actually kind of seen in resurgence or an explosion during this
Right.
time, because you can do
Yeah.
your acting from home and the production can continue. So I think that's
Yeah.
awesome that people have found a way to
You got like
to do that.
you've got like Troy Baker with just like mattresses nailed against
Yeah.
his walls, like just
Well, he never had to do it from home. I mean, same with a lot of like Tom Kenny, who's SpongeBob, and Bob Bergen, who's Porky the Pig, and all of these like prolific voice actors who've been doing it for 20, 30 years. They never had to have anything at home. They go straight to the studio, they do the job. Sure, they audition, but not as much as someone like me. They get direct offers, right? So they didn't need it, and then all of a sudden you need it, right? And
Yeah.
so when quarantine hit, I had to get a camera for my setup in my booth, and a little HD camera, which is normally like
Oh.
$75, was like $300.
yeah, these things
Mhm.
are expensive.
Yeah.
We were hitting the same thing because one of our podcast members needed an upgrade right around that time, and it was crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that cut into our funding a good deal.
That's a perfect segue into my actual question.
Well, hold on, Finn. Hold on.
If you bring up Sisyphus again, I swear. to
No,
God.
I'm not going to bring up Sisyphus. But you mentioned Christopher Walken. I actually do a pretty good 8 out of 10 Christopher Walken impression.
No,
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 it's
you're gonna be
happening.
banned for 5 minutes.
No, it's happening. And so
Where's
what
the
if
key box?
not even no, but better yet, what if Christopher Walken was Kratos from
No.
from God of War?
No.
Right. So
John, please.
so it would probably sound something like
What?
yeah, you'll understand. It would probably
No.
if
it-
anyone
it
needs
would-
to go get a drink or
it
go
would
to the restaurant,
probably-
I don't want to understand.
it would probably sound something like, "Hey, Zeus, your son has returned. I bring the destruction of Olympus."
It's almost too real.
Finn, ask your question. And then and then Jeff, and we got some questions that I want to hit in chat.
I'm in physical
Yeah.
pain.
Finn, ask your damn
Ah.
question.
All right. So you are pretty much
Hey.
well known around our parts, and you're very prolific in the video game world. That's what the thing I love to do with voice actors is to hit up their IMDb and just see just the never-ending list of roles, big and small. But what I love and what I noticed is, I'm curious how you broke out. There's 2 big roles you did that are kind of adjacent to gaming, but they're very much their own world. And because you got to play the big bad final boss in the Naruto series, you were Kaguya, and I did not know that, and that blew my mind because I'm a big old nerd.
Finn is our
nerd,
resident
and that
anime guy.
Oh, so that made me happy. Like,
Haguro.
that's so cool. So, and then, but also, we're about to have our first child, so we've been watching a lot of just kid-friendly shows to kind of find out what we want to expose her to later. And one of the new ones has been The Owl House, and I did not know you were Lilith, and that is fantastic. So, to actually have a question instead of just gushing, how did you break out from the video games into both the anime and the Disney world? Like, those are 2 their own spheres.
That's actually a good question.
It's
Finn.
hard. It is really easy to get pigeonholed in this business, which again is why I say like I bust my ass to be in the various facets of the biz. I audition for stuff all the time. I have a really great agent, Dean Pinero, who he believes in me. We have a really good working relationship where I know I can call him and be like, "Hey, can you give me an ear check on this? Am I in the ballpark or do I sound like shit?" And he'll be honest, brutally honest with me. But for Naruto, I mean, every voice actor here has worked on anime of some sort. It's Yuri Lowenthal, Tara Platt, even Troy and Laura and that whole crew started an anime. There's so much anime happening, and I was so psyched when I booked that because I'm a huge Naruto fan as well. So it was really, really cool. And she's my first Funko. I'm getting my very first.
What?
That's
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
awesome.
So cool.
That's dope.
Yeah.
See, now
I'm
I'm gonna
super
have to
psyched
get
about
her. Is she gonna be one of the oversized ones? I feel like she should be.
I don't know.
I don't know.
have no
I don't know.
idea.
It doesn't matter. It's awesome.
I don't make the rules. But then Owl House, yeah, that one was a dream. It is a dream. I auditioned it. I felt every now and then like I'll do an audition and I'll finish it and I just have full body chills and I'm like, yeah, I booked that one. No problem. That one's mine.
Nailed
That's
it.
so cool.
And that was how I felt with Lilith. And then I went in for the callback and Dana Dana Terrace, who's a show creator, she was like, Lilith is going to have some really heavy emotional lifting, and I fucking love Firewatch, so want to be Lilith? And I was like,
Yes.
That is so cool. And
yeah.
and like it sounds like Firewatch actually opened up quite a few doors. I mean, that
Firewatch has been amazing.
that was a really high profile gig.
Quite a few outdoors.
Yeah. God, I fucking hate you.
You didn't say
God,
house doors.
Finn, Jeff, you have been silent.
I'm just taking it all in. These stories are awesome. So I was trying to think of something smart and creative, not related to Firewatch, because I'm sure that comes up so often. But I got to ask you. I was kind of looking at all the projects that you've been involved in. Like everyone said, like they're all over the place, and there's so many amazing projects there. But a lot of them are like bigger names like Naruto and Halo, and I know I have some sort of role in the upcoming World of Warcraft expansion. But like Firewatch is like when you get to these small indie games, where does that conversation start? I guess I'm curious actually how you got involved with Firewatch. Does that is it the team kind of reaching out to you, or is it just your agent finding, like how did that match come together? I guess I'd like to hear the story.
So that was Sean and Jake from Telltale when they left, and then Sean reached out to me and said, "Hey, we've started this new company and we're making this game. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yes." And since then, I've gotten contacted by a lot of smaller indie games who like the game, who like my work in the game. There's a game coming out soon called Call of the Sea that was announced, I think, during the PlayStation review.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So they reached out to me, and Tatiana Delgado, who's the lead developer there, she was like, I love Delilah. I love Firewatch. Firewatch is a huge inspiration for this game. Would you be our lead character? And again, like the answer is always yes. And it's rare because more often than not, especially for the big jobs, it's always auditions, and sometimes it's multiple rounds of auditions. But for the smaller ones, they've started reaching out directly, which is really, really cool. And getting to work on these incredible stories. I mean, just the way in which storytelling is evolving in games, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
To be able to go from something like The Walking Dead and Firewatch and all of that to like What Remains of Edith Finch and all of these beautiful games. It blows my mind.
Absolutely.
I actually I played Firewatch when I was Finn. You might
Which one
remember
is
this. Yeah, it's the game with it's the game about fire. It's a fire starting game actually. You run around start a bunch of
got
fires and then you watch them burn. But
With
no,
tequila.
no, yes. I was actually
That's just 2020.
yeah. Firewatch. Yeah, Firewatch needs a
Dumpster
sequel.
fire.
Yeah. But when I played Firewatch, I was actually in training, and I was away from home in training, and so I was in this hotel room for 3 months. Finn, you probably remember that.
Yep.
And that's when I played Firewatch, and it was pretty much just me. It was just me for 3 months, and the first thing that struck me about Firewatch was that incredible Ollie Moss artwork, which is by the way,
Jane Ng. Don't leave Jane Ng out of that. She's fucking amazing.
Well, and like actually that ever since the PS4 Firewatch theme dropped, it has been the theme on my PS4 for about 4 years now.
Yay.
And it just
Apparently Toyota dealerships love it too.
yeah, no, yes, I've heard about that. And I cleared it in a single night, and I just kind of turned the lights off. It was a Saturday, so I didn't have any training to do, so I just turned the lights off and I played Firewatch. And without spoiling what happens in the ending, I know that the ending caused.
Come on, it's been 4 years.
Okay, that's
People
fine.
haven't
So
played it by now.
I haven't
Come
played
on.
it. I haven't played it.
Okay,
Ah.
all right.
Years.
All right. So what I'll say is this: the game, the game just like it ends very abruptly. It just ends, and there's not a lot of resolution given in either of the real kind of depending on the choices you make. There's no real resolution. You just leave. And some people didn't like that, but I loved it because in life, 9.99999 times out of 10, that's how every situation ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And
that was exactly the point.
And that really humanized the entire experience for me. When you find out the truth about what's going on, like, you know, with the missing kid, and as you're getting on that helicopter, and it's just over, and I was like, I love that, because this is how situations end in real life. There's rarely any true closure. There's rarely any fanfare. Things just move on, and you go on about your life. And as you were reading the script for Firewatch, like, and you realized kind of what they were going for with that ending, like did that resonate with you at all?
So interestingly, we had recorded an entirely different ending where about 2/3 of the way through, Delilah tells Henry he's fucking crazy and shuts him off. And you don't hear from Delilah for the rest of the game. And Sean came back and he was like, it doesn't work.
No.
We have to have Delilah in there. And I was like, oh, darn, go on. And so we re-recorded it, and I knew it was going to be polarizing, you know, because it you want everything in a pretty bow.
Yeah.
You do, like, especially, you know, if you're spending your time and you're spending your money and you're using this method of escapism, right? You want the pretty bow. I get it. But Sean's whole point was, you know, this is a snapshot of life. You go, you know, in the 80s, before Facebook and Twitter and cell phones, you know, we would go, I'm assuming you guys are all roughly my age.
I'm 40. So
okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. We would go to camp for the summer, and you'd meet this friend, and you'd be like, we're going to be pen pals and we're going to be friends forever, and it's going to be great. And you're the best of friends. And then you never talk to each other again.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what he was going for. And it totally makes sense. The other thing too, Brittany, close your ears, is Firewatch was made by a team of 8 people. 8. And to animate a moving face is very expensive. And so they realized, in addition to that, there was no design they could make of Delilah that would be it.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody somewhere was always going to be pissed because it didn't fit the vision they had in their mind.
That's not what Delilah looks like. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, forget it. Use your own imagination. And I love that. I love that. As a woman in games, I have played some very stereotypical female characters. I have been a prostitute in Grand Theft Auto 5 that you light on fire and throw out a window. I've been a madam in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm in charge of prostitutes. Have I mentioned the prostitutes?
Those are both Rockstar games.
The Rockstar.
I'm just saying, Rockstar. So to be able to have this fully complex 9-dimensional character who you had to decide how you felt about based on her charm and her intelligence and not the size of her cans. God, hook me up.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's a dream job.
Well, and you know, I feel like, you know, one more thing I wanted to say on Delilah, and welcome back, Brittany. And
Thank you.
And one more thing I wanted to say on Delilah is that I am glad that you didn't go with that alternate ending that you had recorded, because, you know, because Delilah did not come across to me as a cruel woman, as a cruel individual. She just came across like very much like Henry, kind of.
She was lost.
Kind of drifting in the wind and not really knowing where she wanted to go or where she was going to wind up next. And Henry was very much the same way. And you know, and he was trying to he went there trying to find himself, and I get the sense that Delilah was also on a journey to find herself. And
I always pictured her as someone who zigged when everyone else zagged.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you go to high school, you go to college, you get married, you have the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog, and she didn't want any of that. You know, and in a society in which that is so ostracized, especially back then, right?
Absolutely.
You know, this took place in the 80s. Single women were spinsters or cat ladies or gay or, you know, and whatever. Like there's no acceptance of that if you're a straight woman who doesn't want a man.
Yeah.
And she didn't need it, right? And so she did when everyone else zagged. And I love that about her.
That's
I will always love that about her.
that's a great characterization.
John,
We
we got a question in chat.
yeah, I was gonna see if
We got a couple actually.
yeah, well, yeah, Brittany, do you want to read your question? Then Jeff, you read one.
Let me see.
Jeff, why don't you go and grab the first one? Yeah,
Jeff,
grab the
go
first one.
first.
Yeah.
We got one from we got a couple. One from Lervinar, one from. I'll go with this one. We got one from Bonton Koo. And it says, question for Cissy. What has been the biggest challenge in losing the studio space for your work? And has the VA community supported each other in adapting to the changes? So I guess like what are the, what's been the hardest part of having to shift like that? It always sounds like you're already doing some stuff from home prior to that, but I guess what's changed? I imagine probably
Not
the
having
way you
an
were.
air-conditioned recording space.
Oh,
It gets so hot. And
I didn't even think about that.
There
No
have
window
been
in there,
days where
huh?
I'm like, my camera's off. I'm just, oh God, it's so, and I live in Southern California. So that has been the hardest. And I miss my friends. Like we record in such a vacuum anyway, even when we're going to the studios, but we would see each other in the lobby and get to, catch up and shoot the shit and hey, wait for me. My session's going to be quick. Let's go grab lunch after this. And I miss my friends. I miss my people a lot.
Yeah.
I also miss going to conventions. I had just gotten back from, I was at PAX East in March, right? With 80,000 people.
Back when the world.
Yeah.
In the before times, but I was all set to go to PAX, Seattle. I was going to teach in Atlanta. I was going to go teach in Toronto. Like I had all these plans and, here we are. In terms of the supportiveness of the voice acting community, you will not find a better group of humans than you will in the voice acting community. They're just so far so as that when I gave a speech for winning an award, I thanked the awesomeness of the voiceover community because they're so rad.
Yeah.
Like there's a stereotype that exists about LA, right? Oh, everyone's out for themselves and plastic surgery and then blah, blah, blah. Sure, you can find that. You can find that. You come here, you want to find that, you will find that. You want to find the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, go find them. Good luck. But in voiceover, perfect example. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday about a really huge opportunity. And I could be the voice of the whole thing, or I could be the voice of a part of a thing, and they might need a voice for other things. And my first thought was, oh my God, but if you do the other, if I'm just one part, then I know so many people that you could hire. Yep. You could hire this one for that and that one for this and da 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 da. And they're women who are in my same vocal category. We compete against each other for everything under the sun. And if they book it, I'm just as happy as if I book it. And vice versa. It's such an incredible community. Truly,
that's awesome.
That kind of support network, especially right now, is really important.
Especially as actors, like we're all known for being insecure and crazy. So to have that kind of support, my God, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's the same thing for podcasters. Like even on one podcast, we're always crazy and at each other. Yeah, no. But Brittany, were you able to grab another question from chat?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Am I just missing them?
Yeah.
Am I blind?
Yeah, there was more.
I have the first one was asked by Lervinar.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, grab that one.
So, Cissy, when you voiced Fury in Darksiders, which I loved, by the way.
Wait, I didn't even realize. Wait. Oh wow, I did not know that.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Hi. Well, I'm Cissy.
Wow.
How familiar were you with the story from beforehand, and how much did they give you to work with since the games occur more simultaneously?
Nothing and nothing. So that story, booking that job was really interesting. So I have an agent where I get the majority of my regular auditions from, and then I have a manager who normally focuses on promo and trailer, which is just a different beast. And so I had gotten this audition from my manager about this video game trailer, and I'm kind of the video game girl on staff there, and not on staff, but on the roster. And so they sent it to me, and it was 4 words: "Hello, brother, with pleasure." That's it. And they kind of told me, right. So they kind of tell me like, she's this badass woman. She's all dressed in like metal, and she has like a whip. Like that's what they give me to define who she is. And then they say she walks past her brother War, who's in chains, and she walks up to the Charred Council. So this is all in the sides that I'm getting. And I'm like, okay, Charred Council, that's got to be something. So I Google Charred Council, Darksiders. Okay. I'm like, all right. So I start reading a little bit of the lore, like what's happening, who is War? Oh, War's played by Liam O'Brien. I love Liam O'Brien. Okay, great. Well, I know what that's going to sound like then, and blah, 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 blah. And then so I had to walk past him with just dripping with venom and be like, hello, brother. And then the Charred Council was going to say, would you go, kill a bunch of people with pleasure? And, that's it. That's the tweet. And so we did it, booked it, great, huge fanfare, drops on IGN. It gets like 4 million views overnight. And I start realizing they're actually going to make this game. I sure would like to be a part of it. I'd at least like to be considered. So I start calling everybody I know who works in games. Hey, do you know anybody at Gunfire Games? Do you know anybody at Gunfire Games? Can you tell them I was the voice of Fury in their trailer? I would love to audition for this. I think I could pull it off really well. And sure enough, they finally sent the audition, and they cast a wide net. They did. They weren't like, here you go, it's yours. I had to bust my chops for it. And at first, when I did the trailer, she just had a regular American accent. But then for the game, they wanted her to have a British accent, and so they put me up against a Brit. And I went to a dialect coach. I was like, I'm not losing this. I will get this if it kills me. And lo and behold, it ended up happening. And it was such a joy to work on a game like that. I mean, that was probably my biggest lead in like a III type of game.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of like side characters and stuff like that in AAAs, but I'd never done a lead in anything like that. And they were awesome. The whole team is just hands down, like super rad, super cool, very supportive, like just a dream, just such a dream.
That's
always a pleasure to hear that.
Yeah, that's really.
And they gave me the action figure, and she's so rad.
I love, and like Finn said, I love hearing when voice actors have positive experiences with the devs, because you hear a lot of stories about crunch with certain studios, and like I feel like there's it feels like, and maybe this is just a 2020 thing, but it feels like there's so much crummy news coming out of the industry that it's really nice to hear stories about the really joyful and accepting and just playful side of things, which is something I think we all need right now in this absolute hell year we're living in. I actually had a question.
Okay.
So now that you've done Darksiders,
ask it like Christopher Walken though.
Oh my God! I prefer your Robert De Niro from the other week. That was less.
Oh, look at that.
So I actually So to what Jeff was saying, I don't do a Robert De Niro voice, but I do a Robert De Niro face. And for some reason, I look like Robert De Niro when I do it, and it freaks my wife out. And it's this.
Oh my God.
Quick question, John. Did we have Cissy on to talk about herself, or did we have her on for you to audition?
Finn, you were the one who did that stupid Sisyphus joke, okay? So you don't get to lecture anybody.
At no
Don't
point.
make me separate you two.
But I actually did have a question. Now that you've done Darksiders, is there a game or a franchise like a big one that you would that you're like, this is what I want to do next? I want to voice one of the main characters in X franchise in this game. Which one is it?
Well, I auditioned one today, and I can't tell you because I've never worked in this town again. But I would love to work on that one. I would also love to see like Jane Bond.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'd love to voice her. I think it would be super fun. I mean, here's the thing about franchises that are out there. Would I love to be Wonder Woman? Hell yes, I'd love to be Wonder Woman. But there are so many women out there who've already done her, and they've done it beautifully, right? So like, I get the question of like, is there a role out there that you wish you would have done? Sure, but it went with the actor it went with for a reason, and I can't begrudge that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Yes, all the things, I guess, is the answer to the question.
So it sounds like it sounds like you actually are more interested in bringing voice to original creations as opposed to characters that already exist. Like
I mean, I'm not sad about
Ro-
voicing a character that already exists.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. It just like do you find those roles more compelling? Like, okay, like, instead of giving like you said, another take on Wonder Woman, which has been done before, this character, like take Delilah, for example, who was written in a very specific manner and will never be voiced by anybody else.
That's
like,
right.
yeah, exactly. Do you find yourself drawn to those roles more than characters that are already established?
It feels less boxed in, and it feels like you can't please everybody with an existing character. There's no way to hit the mark. I mean, even with Delilah, listen, I got everything from marriage proposals to death threats, but it's with a character that already exists, there is so much built-in expectation, right?
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's not that I'm not up for the challenge. Of course, I'm up for the challenge. I'm here. Like I love my job. I will do whatever, within reason. But to be able to create a new character, like truly from the ground up, from her shoes to her motivations, like, okay, yeah, give me that. Why not?
Yeah, and I've got one more question, Finn, and then I'll kick to you. Then I want to talk about and then if Jeff or Brittany have a question as well.
Jeff
please.
is raising his hand again, so yes.
Oh, is he? Sorry, I had a screen blocking you, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh,
about
not
that.
Jeff. Finn. I'm sorry.
Oh, Finn. Sorry. Yeah, I get him confused too.
I was mentally raising my hand. I got one more quick one after.
Okay,
but
I've got a super quick one, and it's a very easy one. I know that there is no template for what a character like Delilah looks like, but do you? And don't describe her because it's just for you. Do you have a visual in your head for how Delilah presents herself and what her appearance is?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
She was an alternate universe version of me. Like, that's like the least actory thing I could possibly fucking say, but it's true. Like, I grew up in a very red state. I grew up in Idaho. 70% of my high school was Mormon. They were married by the time they were 18 or 19. At my age now, they have like 6-7 kids. And and good on them. Like, if that's their thing in life, great. It ain't mine. And I definitely felt that square peg round hole that Delilah did, and I kind of went off on my own. I'm one of the only people that left. I'm definitely the only person in my high school that is like in the entertainment industry, So I definitely felt that kind of lone wolf thing that Delilah had. And if I hadn't met my husband, I probably wouldn't have gotten married. I know everybody says that, but it's true. So yeah, she was just me without shaving my legs.
That's awesome. No, thank you for that. That's fantastic. I know that Finn and Jeff and Brittany, I think each had a one more question. Finn, we'll start with you, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I took a picture in chat for Britt to read, so that way you can find one.
I found one. I've been reading the chat
your
now.
help,
Then
Finn.
you go first.
Question
I
on
was
her own.
trying to be nice. Anyway,
That was a backhanded niceness.
Jeez, wow, Finn.
Wow.
Finn out here interviewing.
Yeah, it's Finn's over here man-interviewing.
Just gonna back away slowly.
Finn, ask your question, or Brittany, ask your question. Brittany, you go.
No. Go, Finn. Go. I have to go.
Brittany, you go.
Pouting.
When
Finn,
Finn he's not gonna talk.
Let Finn pout.
Is Finn pouting? Is that what's happening?
He's pouting. You go ahead with your question.
Okay. I don't really have a question so much as a comment that it's so refreshing to listen to you speak, just to hear your confidence and hear you go for roles and hear you just your empowerment towards women and your thoughts and just overall it's nice to hear. I can't quite put it into words. It to have a female in the industry, it's hard. So it's nice to listen to another girl and in the gaming industry that is, I can't quite put it into words. So just thank you, because listening to you has been such an experience and has been one of the highlights of my day and of this year and of my week. It's very hard to be a female, not like, not only in playing in this industry, but I'm sure for you working in this industry. So it's nice to just relate to somebody on that level, because you think when you're playing it or experiencing it that, you're the only one getting it. But to hear you, experience it and just rising up against it when you're working it, like, and just saying, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep auditioning for this job. I'm going to get it. Like, it's cool to listen to. Found my words in the end. So they're fucking, I overcame it too. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So it's just nice. It's cool to listen to a female just fucking come up and rise above it. So thank you for that. Also, one thing I really want to talk about that nobody has, you did Joyce in Life is Strange. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Let's talk about that. How did you get that? Like, you've done so much stuff. Like when we first you first were coming on the show, I'm not gonna lie, I had to Google who you were at first. And then when I saw, I was like, holy shit, she's done so much stuff. Like, you have such a wide range. Like, it's so impressive. And then I saw Joyce. I was like, I love Joyce. Like, how did that happen?
It was an audition.
Really?
And it was funny because they sent out the sides, and I didn't know anything about the game. We never listen, it's like, here's an audition for Project Desk Lamp. Like, nothing. Yeah. We are given no information. I'm not, it's gotten a little bit better, but not much. And so, I just got this audition for this woman who was the mother of like a rebel teen, and she was a diner and a waitress, and they didn't really say much else. Her husband had died, and whatever. And so from there, you just kind of build like, who is this person, right? What are the shoes that she wears, and why? What is the first thing that she thinks of when she wakes up in the morning, and what's the last thing that she thinks of when she goes to bed, right? And so you just kind of build this character. And with Joyce, there was just such a sadness to her, to everything that she did. Everything was so hard. And it's funny because when I did the audition, I had her, with a Southern accent. And it just felt right when I was doing the audition. And then I went in and they're like, well, it takes place in Oregon. And I was like, well, but I kept it because in my head, okay, maybe it's in Oregon, but I think she was born in Alabama and, made her way across the country and ended up, in Oregon.
Right.
And it was such a joy. I mean, God, to be Ashley Birch's mother. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Right.
I'll share scenes with Ashley Birch any day.
God.
Who is
and it's
one of
so
the
funny
kindest people on God's green earth. Sorry.
That was no. It's just, it was such a small cast. Like, so many people did so many characters in that. It's like, it was just crazy.
I also did a homeless woman.
Yeah.
But it's funny, of all the games that people reach out to me the most for, it's Firewatch, it's The Walking Dead, and it's Life is Strange. Period.
I can see that.
I mean, I get, when I'm at conventions, I get, all the Chloes walking around with their blue hair and their, tank tops. And I always yell at them, call your mother.
Oh, I'm sure they love that.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. That is,
it's
God,
really cool.
That's great. Brittany, thank you for that, by the way. That was incredibly refreshing to hear.
Thank you, seriously.
Do you want me to read a question now?
Yes, read a question.
Oh, okay.
Ahead.
So we have Big Mike is a Sasquatch says, before the year the dumpster fire, how often would you read along the other voice actors? Is it better for feeding off the energy of the moment?
Before the year of the dumpster fire watch. Rarely. We often record by ourselves in our vacuums with a director on the other, especially now. But even in the before times, when I went to a studio, there would be a director and an engineer and maybe a writer, but we never get to work with the other actors. And so going back to Firewatch, that is one of the things that made it so special, was because Rich Summer, who plays Henry, built a home studio for the job, and we would Skype in together with Sean connecting us, and then we would actually get to have conversations. And the game would not have worked without that. I mean, you had to have that chemistry. You had to have the back and forth with each other. And Rich is such a talented actor anyway, just being able to hear the way that he would deliver a line completely out of, what I would expect a person to do. And then giving me the chance to respond to it accordingly. It's what made the game, as far as I'm concerned. I'm working on another game right now, another indie, where I got to record with my scene partner. And the only other time it's happened was when I worked on Arkham Knight. I got to work in the booth with Maurice LaMarche, who, if you don't know who Maurice LaMarche is, he is the Brain on Pinky and the Brain. He's like the voice of my childhood. Yeah. And I was like 12 years pregnant when I walked into the session, and he was there, and I was like, don't pee, don't pee, don't pee. Like, it was so, and he was so gracious and so lovely. And then I ran into him later at Nerdist or Geek and Sundry a while after that, and he was having a conversation with Carrie Ells from Princess Bride. And I walked up and I was like, Maurice, hi. And he was like, do I know you? And I was like, I played your wife. So it was great.
That's funny.
Now he knows who I am.
I'll bet he does. I'll bet he does. Yeah, absolutely. That's fucking fantastic. Finn, go ahead, bud.
Well, one of the things we really pride ourselves on at the show as a whole is that we kind of lift up positivity. So I wanted to do a twist on a classic interview question. People always like to get the drama and the dirt on people, like, which coworker did you have the most problems with? Not here.
I already know
My
what
question
you're gonna
is,
ask.
what has been one of your favorite interactions with a coworker or another voice actor?
Oh,
Like,
thank
who is
God.
someone that you can genuinely say is amazing and you just really enjoyed your time with them? Like, let's spread the love.
I was afraid you were going to do the cake or pie thing.
Oh no, that's later. That's the
Great,
last question of the night.
Great. Sorry.
Am I limited to just one?
No, as many as you like. Hit us up.
Because, Rich Summer is a master class. Like, working alongside him was just a dream. That guy is so talented and so giving, and just like, it was such a joy to work with him. And I mean, listen, when I was recording The Walking Dead, so I did 9 characters throughout the lifespan of The Walking Dead, of Telltale's The Walking Dead. And when we were recording season 1 with Katya and Jolene and Bree, I knew it was lightning in a bottle. Like, there was something really special about it. And again, Katya was my first job, right? So to know that on my first job was real weird. But I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the business. I had no contacts, no friend. And I'm a really social person. Like, I'm always like, but I didn't know anybody. So I'd been recording for Katya for like a couple of months. And I was getting ready to move to LA. And my friend was like, hey, I'm going to meet up with a bunch of The Walking Dead actors in Oakland. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, oh my God, yes. And so I walked into the bar, and there's Melissa Hutchison, who's Clementine, Owen Thomas, who plays Omid, Adam Harrington, who plays some fucking psycho in The Thing, and Brian Summer, and Nikki Rapp, and Nick Vigil. And like, I walked in and I was like, hi guys, I'm Cissy. I'm Katya. They were like, Katya, and Melissa and Owen and Gavin Hammond are still some of my closest friends to this day. We have a text chain. We're constantly bullshitting with each other.
That's awesome.
We're constantly referring each other they're just right. And then Courtney Taylor, who is, again, like, sits directly in my vocal range. She plays Nora in Fallout 4 and Jack in Mass Effect and everything else. I had met her a couple of years ago, and we didn't really hit it off and whatever. And then I kept running into her at E3 like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, every time I turned the corner, I was like, I think we need to be friends. And she was like, yeah, I think we do. And now, God help me, she is one of my best friends. We have traveled to cons together. We've gone to Australia together. She's like my kid's favorite auntie. Like she is my people, and it makes me so freaking happy. It's just such an incredible group of people all the way around. I'm gushing again.
No, please, this
It's a
industry.
good problem to have.
No,
It's better than stuttering and not knowing where you're going.
Yeah,
so.
like we need more wholesomeness. Period. So,
but I would also say, I mean, it goes to the devs. Like, God, the people that worked at Telltale, RIP, were like the most amazing people. Jason Latino, who just shipped Baldur's Gate 3. That guy is one of the kindest human beings on this planet. He's so lovely. And all the other devs that were at Telltale were great. Like Adam Orth, who I worked on Adrift with, he comes across as such a curmudgeon, and he's such a sweetheart. Like, I just love that guy. It's just all
Everybody. Yeah. Good. That's a good problem to have, is, oh no, there's too many people I like.
Yeah. I wish I had that problem. Jeff, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I had one last question. Well, first, I guess a comment. I kind of wanted to just build off Brittany's question about Joyce and stuff like that. I just wanted to say, like, even though Joyce wasn't the lead character in Life is Strange, there's a severe shortage of not just female characters in gaming, but mothers and moms, and that's just is so underrepresented. We have, I mean, it's kind of almost become a meme at this point, the sad dad genre. Like, we've just got these, the wife died or something, or like the dad trying to, build a relationship with their kids. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not, the problem's definitely not exclusive to video games, but so that was, even though the role was maybe not the lead role or something, it's refreshing to see that brought to life with care. So I just wanted to compliment you on that role. And I guess the other question I had is, I know this question, the answer to this really varies from person to person. We've had lots of other voice actors on the show, and some are really big gamers and some aren't. But I know a lot of, not just voice actors, a lot of actors, they do the job and they don't look back. And I think some don't even ever rewatch their movie or their TV show past the premiere, something like that. They just kind of like, it's done and they move on. So I'm wondering, with your approach to these roles, whether it's like the games or the shows, I'm curious, like, how much of the story do you grasp beyond what you need to perform the role? Do you ever actually go back and watch them? Do you ever read a synopsis, or is it just kind of depend on the project and your interest in it?
It kind of depends on the project. I mean, I am so excited about Owl House. I couldn't wait to watch it, because I'm also only getting the slivers of my scenes and not the whole season. So I couldn't wait to see, like, wait, how did this end up like that? Okay, start from the beginning. There's also a show that I did on Amazon Prime called Little Big Awesome, where I play an anthropomorphic nail file. And she just talks like this the whole time.
That is exactly how I would picture a nail file to speak, actually.
Well, and I couldn't wait to see, like, how they animated her. And it's a really funny dorkball show. I love it. Games are trickier because some of them are so long, and I just don't have time. I'm also a terrible gamer. Like, I learned to play on the old school, like, NES controllers, but I learned to play like this so that I could run really fast and then jump, and his little feet would still be running. So when they came out with the new controllers that were all thumbs, it kind of, I was like, I don't. So I'm not a great gamer. I will watch playthrough, so I know what I'm talking about and stuff like that. And if there's a good cinematic scene that I remember, I'll go back and watch it. But I've also found that one of my superpowers is forgetting jobs because I can't keep everything at the same time. So, sometimes people will be like, "Oh my God, I loved you in whatever," and I'm like, "That wasn't me." And they're like, "No, here's a clip," and I'm like, "Hey, that's me."
I was just kidding. I wanted to see if you were paying attention. That was me.
Yeah.
Jeff, that was a fantastic question, man. So I actually wanted to I thought to close up, because we got about like 20 minutes ish. I thought to close up here, since we have a voice actor on, and we've had other voice actors on in the past, but we've never really talked about video game movies that we would love to see, because right now, with everything happening with Uncharted, right? Like everybody's talking about Uncharted, the movie right now. and about the fact that they did not cast Bruce Campbell to play Sully. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, what is
that's
he got
mostly
robbed?
spearheaded by you.
right, but it also got a lot of traction because Bruce Campbell is Sully. And or Jeffrey Wright.
Oh
That's
God.
like
No, Bruce Campbell. That would have been.
It would have been
so good.
Bruce Campbell or J.K. Simmons.
I feel like you could cast Bruce Campbell as anyone and it would work in its own weird way.
Bruce Campbell is Delilah. Done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take it. I'll take it. So I wanted us to fan cast some video game movies that we would love to see. And there's two rules. One,
I'm going to add a caveat to that.
Okay, please.
Because I don't know if you saw it, it's just announced they're making a Firewatch movie. And
I did not know that.
Yeah. And it's bittersweet because I'm pretty sure I won't get to be in it because I'm not a big enough name. And it breaks my heart because it's a character that I created.
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
So I definitely get the the celebrity aspect of it and wanting to see our favorite characters come to life and things like that. But I would love to see Nolan North get a shot at something in Uncharted. I mean, when they made Prince of Persia, Yuri Lowenthal reached out and he was like, what if you just make me a guard that he gets to punch out as he walks past? Like, what a great Easter egg. And crickets. Like, he didn't get to do anything for the game.
Sorry, John, can I cut in real quick?
No, please.
I know it's a fun topic, so I don't want to get too serious, but I think I absolutely agree with Cissy, and I've actually been saying for years, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Nolan North could fucking be Nathan Drake because I think I don't know if it's just like a nerd fandom thing, but I noticed with comics and games and stuff, people get so hyper focused on fan casting based solely on someone's face and their appearance and how well they represent the character from the source. But I am far more interested in the spirit and the soul of that and how they deliver that. And I mean, the voice, we're talking about voice act, but that voice and that energy and stuff that comes from them. 5 minutes into the movie, whatever they look like, I'm just going to get used to that. But if I don't feel like they fit that role, I'm never going to get past that for the hour and a half or 2 hours it is. And I think there's too much focus on them being the exact right age or the exact right appearance, stuff like that. If they feel right for that role, I would love to see absolutely more people like Nolan North get a shot because that guy is next level.
Well,
he's wicked talented and he's super cool. That guy could walk into any set and get a job, and he's the nicest freaking guy on the planet. I've said that about 4 people tonight, but it's true.
No, what?
There's a lot of nice people out there. Let's remember that.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Cissy, because and I was throwing out suggestions on Twitter today for people I felt would be a better fit for a live action Sully, right? And I said I think another great choice would be Jeffrey Wright. I think Jeffrey Wright would just absolutely nail an interpretation of Sully. And some jackass came in and said, "Well, he's not Sully's not black, and I don't want alternative Sully. I want real Sully." And I was like, "Here's the thing: no matter who is playing this role in the film, you're still getting alternative Sully because the role was originated by Richard McGonagle. So it doesn't matter who is playing the character." You are getting an alternative take on Sully, and that's just the way it is. So you better swear with that.
Real Sully.
This is what I'm talking about with the built-in expectation, right? When they even talk about having a black James Bond. Imagine if they do a Jane Bond.
I'd love it.
Okay?
Yeah. People lost their shit because Daniel Craig was blonde.
Yeah, I remember that.
I would love it too, but God forbid a Bond doesn't have a penis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sorry, but
no, go on.
Yeah, please.
Please.
I know I'm in good company here, but people get so wrapped up in what they want. And I think that's the interesting thing about working in games. There's, games and animation are like kissing cousins, right? They're very similar, but there's something so different about the expectation of a game community from a built-in fan base that they expect a certain thing, and God damn it, if they don't get it, we're gonna raise hell. We're gonna Gamergate. We're gonna dox you. We're gonna whatever. And you don't see that in animation. Animation is like, oh my God, I loved your character. This is awesome. Whereas again, Firewatch, marriage proposals to "you fucking cunt, I can't believe you did this at the end." Okay, I'm a dancing monkey. Like someone wrote the
Did
words
they
to
know
me
there
and
was
I
a
was like,
script? A fictional character?
right?
Do you ever just
So-
get the whiplash from that? Just the
From fury.
vast chasm of
Yeah, it's
It's
really,
wild.
really, it's exhausting sometimes. I mean, listen, I love the fact that we have something like Twitter where I can meet people, who are like-minded and interesting and fun, and we can have, conversations and everything else. I've met some really good friends on Twitter. And sometimes it's scary as hell.
Yeah,
Like,
it really is. It really
I
is.
don't write the scripts. I dance the jig,
Well,
and then I cash a paycheck.
Well, and like, you saw some of that anger today when people were commenting on my post about Sully. Like
Yeah.
and it's like people need to understand two things about when you're talking about translating any medium to film, whether you're talking about books or games or animation. Put aside your expectations of what you want to see out of that character, because you're not going to get it. There is literally no way to recreate the original Sully, for example, because that is a role that was originated by Richard McGonigal in Firewatch.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea they were making a movie. Which is incredibly cool, but at the same time, you originated the role of Delilah, and hopefully you get cast in that role. But if you because I
won't. I won't. I'm not famous. I won't.
And that sucks, because I will be. Look, this is human nature. I will be constantly thinking to myself, well, that's not really Delilah, though, is it? It's a human flaw. Like it's something that you can't really help.
Yeah.
What I think where I think people go wrong is getting pissed off and angry about it, and it's instead. People need to take that energy and use it to try to make change, right? Like there are a lot of voice actors in games who, like you mentioned Yuri Lothal in Prince of Persia, right? There was no reason not to cast him as a guard, like as a little nod to him originating the role from Sands of Time. There's like there were pictures of Nolan North on set with Tom Holland today. That's great. Yep. I see his face in the movie because he's the original Nathan Drake and he deserves to be there.
He absolutely does.
You are the person who originated the role of Delilah. Like, even if you're not cast as Delilah, you deserve to have your face seen in that movie, because this is something that you helped give life to. Like, there would not be a film without the work that you did.
And Rich.
And
honestly.
Yes. Like, I mean,
Cissy Jones is camper number one.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah.
Drunk
like,
teen.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see it, like it's one of those things where, and this is why I'm glad we're talking about this, because for people who are outside of the voice acting industry, like we don't really think about this stuff very often, right? And it's not because of a lack of empathy. It's because we're not in that world, and we're like, we're so focused on what we want to see, that we don't stop to think about the people who actually originated these roles
that put the work into it.
Yeah, and
I mean, why would you, right? Like it's not your day to day.
But now I feel really bad.
But I mean, it's really fun to see Tom Holland as young Nathan Drake, right? It's really cool. It's the interesting thing about games is that they are so long. I don't know how they're going to make a plausible movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a series or a movie.
I mean, I don't even know if they're adapting the. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like take Uncharted. Like we don't know if they're actually adapting a game or if they are going to have an original story. Which I think it's probably a combination of both. But
I feel.
No, Finn, go ahead.
No, I just feel like, weirdly enough, Uncharted might be one of the only ones super qualified to become just a movie, because the games were basically just Indiana Jones in video game form. So at least we know the format works in a movie form, because most of the time I'm like you, is that I think, boy, this would have been way better as a mini series on HBO or something. Like, give it time to actually breathe and grow. But I feel like Uncharted might work in a movie format. So I've been
Yeah, I think it
burned
could.
so many times before by live action movies of things I love, and I want so desperately for it to be good, but I know better. But
The
I'm
first
still
thing
gonna
that
have
went through
to.
my head was The Last Airbender, the live action. I
Oh,
just, yeah.
oh.
It,
Well,
I cried in theaters and not from joy.
well,
So,
a lot of these things get like, and it's not just like when you're talking about, and it's really bad with video games to film. We still to this day have a problem with whitewashing the shit out of everything. Like look
Yeah.
at Prince of Persia is another great example. Like Dastan, the Persian, which is Iranian, like the Persian prince is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and the Persian princess is played by Gemma Arterton, who is a white British actress. The
Brit.
only
Yeah.
like the only person of color in that entire film was Ben Kingsley, who is he's either half Persian or half Indian. But I didn't even know that until somebody told me that. I mean, like it's fucking unbelievable, and like it goes as far back as the Mortal Kombat film, where you have Raiden, who is a Chinese thunder god, portrayed by Christopher Lambert, who is a white European actor, and it's a tale as old as the medium. And
well,
no, I was just gonna say that I I mentioned earlier about glass ceilings. I talked a little bit about glass ceilings earlier. And I feel like we're this is still a problem, and you're just now starting to see it get solved a little bit, like with Aladdin, like they had an entire cast of Middle Eastern actors, which is great.
And Will Smith is Genie.
Will Smith is Genie, yeah, like Will Smith was Genie, and it's, but again, like it's we like to talk about how far this country specifically has come when it comes to matters of race and stuff like that. But when you think about it, we really haven't come as far as we think we have. And
No.
and I hate to
If
say
this year has taught me anything, it's
and whether
Yeah.
whether or not anybody, I'm sorry if it hurts anybody's feelings, but it's still an industry dominated by straight white men. It just is, unfortunately. And
well, it's like Cissy mentioned, just with the brief joke about Last Airbender, is that movie took a show that was nothing but people of color of different races, and then made everyone but the bad guys white. But
Yeah.
the bad guys got to remain ethnic. So
Yeah.
that's the dark side of whitewashing, is people go like, yeah, but this person isn't, and it's always the bad guy.
Yeah.
They'll make the bad guy a woman or a person of color, but God forbid the people you're supposed to root for don't have white skin. That's a bridge too far, John.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know why. What was I thinking? But I don't know.
But I think the voices calling for it are getting unignorable.
Yes,
I think so too.
And so I feel like we are at the very just base of the wave that is coming. So
Well, I actually, again, I had no idea that there was a Firewatch movie coming out, and the minute you said it, like the thought just popped in my head, like they're probably not going to cast Cissy for it, will they? And
that's why I said earlier Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, like that really
it sucks.
That really resonates with me. Because
or Rich as Henry.
Yeah, you two put in one of my, like I said, it's probably my favorite. You and Rich, are responsible for one of my favorite narratives, or giving voice to my favorite narratives. This generation, and playing that game alone while I was in training with nothing but myself and my thoughts was incredibly poignant. I've always said that it's not so much in life the things that we love, it's the moments that we experience them, that give them, things that we love. It's not just that we love the thing; it's that they came along at the right time in our lives when we needed that thing. That's what really makes them memorable. And Firewatch, that story was one of those things for me. And it saddens me to think that you and Rich probably wouldn't have any sort of role to play in that and all. And now it's actually not, since you brought that up, it's given me a lot to think about.
Well, I think we just weren't used to it, because we're so used to when, things get adaptations that there's always this, perfect
Yeah.
case is Tom Holland. We're just so used to celebrities having adaptations that we don't think about the work that goes behind it, on
Well,
a voice acting level.
but I mean, from the producer standpoint, you don't get the money to make a thing unless you've got a name attached. I can speak from experience there. I've been trying to sell an animated show for a while, and it all comes down to who's attached.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's
Like the movie's going to make half the money based on the project and the other half based on the fact
Yeah.
it has Robert Downey Jr. in
I
it
was
or something
literally
like
going to
that.
say Robert Downey Jr. Like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, he happens to be one of my favorite actors, so
Yeah.
whatever.
No, he's great. But no,
Yeah.
like, and honestly, like, no, we didn't fan cast any movies, but I'd rather talk about this because, I
Thank
would.
you for being open to it. I
No.
hate to be a killjoy, but
No, this is.
I would rather be I would rather be educated than just talk. And I know I speak for all of us, I think, when I say that we always appreciate more perspective, because these are things that from the outside looking in, we don't think about until we actually hear about them, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, you're right. Like,
Perspective. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. So, if you're not willing to learn, then you're not ever going to get anywhere. And so, no, thank you for that. It actually gives me quite a bit to think about.
Yeah, it was kind of like a brain explosion moment when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, oh shit, that really sucks.
Well, yeah, right. Like, well, see, and now, like, but now, like, you have to sit there and wonder what, and Nolan North comes up to me as an incredibly kind, gracious man, but you have to wonder what he's thinking watching somebody else play a character that he originated. And then it takes you down the road of, well, I really hope they find some way to acknowledge that. Because
I think the fact that they released the photo today of him on set is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, at least that's a nod to the gaming community of like, hey, he's your boy. He is involved. We're not leaving him out in the dust. Like,
Right.
and I got to give props to Naughty Dog for that, and to whatever movie studio is doing it. That Uncharted has also been going to be a movie for 15 years,
something like that.
and
yeah.
so
6 directors.
Right. So there's been so Firewatch had been optioned before as well. Firewatch was optioned 3 years ago, and then that fell through, and then it just got re-optioned again like 6 months ago. And so there's also, like, the first time I heard about it, I was like, oh my god, Firewatch is going to be a movie, and then like the next day I was like, oh, and
exactly that realization.
Yeah.
I spiraled for a minute. I called Yuri and I was like, how did you deal with this? And now that it's the second time around, like, it still stings, but it's less bad.
Well,
3 years
So
later.
we
So
need to actually use the Twitter for good and start a campaign where we say Cissy for Firewatch, and we build it up from the groundswell it until it's big enough where they have to at least acknowledge that you are Firewatch.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
not a bad
just thinking
idea,
again about
actually.
the Nolan North situation. Like, I can understand. Yeah, it's frustrating. It must be so hard to let a character go and see someone else portray it. But I can also understand maybe, I'm. It's tricky with adaptations because, like, big part of me is like, I don't necessarily want to see a perfect game. Doesn't need to have that exact same story retold in another form, and I can respect them wanting to take a different approach with a different story and maybe take some elements from that, but do something really new and exciting. And maybe part of that involves going a different direction with the cast and the acting and stuff like that. But it just feels like they're so obsessed with pandering to the fans, and the gamers like, hey, this part of the game you like, but they're so concerned with respecting the fans and the players, but the people that brought that original game to life, the developers and the voice actors and the writers and stuff like that, they get none of that love. So that's where I really like stuff like this, or like Cissy said before, like, if you could just throw in some cameos, give them, even if they're not the main character, give them a different part, right? Like involve them with that process and honor the legacy and honor where these came from. Because if your movie ends up making $300-400 million, it kind of started with that original cast and that original team that built that idea. So
I'm on board with that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, and like
It's not the world's best example, but sorry, John, real quick. It's not
No,
the
go
world's
ahead.
best example, but the live action Mulan movie actually had the voice of Mulan as a cameo.
Not
And
was it
is it Ming Na Wen?
Big Na
Ming Na
Wen,
Wen.
she
Yeah.
was.
I
she
know her
was in
as Melinda May from
Yeah,
Agents of
yeah,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they
Yeah.
did that, and I thought that was really cool because
Mhm.
you don't see that often. You don't usually get
Yeah.
the wink and the nod and the acknowledgement of the
the
person
Easter
that
egg, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like how
That's
fun
all
for
it
the
is.
fans.
Like it doesn't cost cost them, the fee to hire them, but it's such a simple, small way to make the people that made this property you're building a movie off of such a huge success, make them feel like you get it.
Well,
Yeah.
I even like I feel like there are some stories and narratives that simply work better in video games because it's an interactive experience as opposed to just being a passive observer in a movie theater. Take What Remains of Edith Finch, which I literally wept after
So good.
finishing that game, and I've never played it again because I feel like if I did, it would lessen the experience that I had when I had it. So it's one of those games that I just want to remain in my memory because it was so poignant to me, and I feel like that would be lost in a film because part of the poignancy and part of the reason that story hits us so hard is because you are the one entering commands and you are the one making things happen. You are part of the story. You're almost the narrator because you are the one driving the story forward.
The cannery would have never hit the same if it was
like
the passive section.
Right. And it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing with Firewatch because, Henry and Delilah's relationship shifts in very subtle ways depending on questions that, like, for example, there's a scene in Firewatch where, minor spoilers. So Henry is there because his wife has, early onset dementia and he's just trying to get away and it's not really much of a marriage anymore. And there's a scene I remember very, very, it hit me really hard. You wake up and his ring isn't on his finger anymore. It's just on a table. And you can pick that ring up and just pop it right back on your finger and go about, or you can leave it there. Like the game the game gives you no prompts. It's just there for you to pick up or put on. I didn't even realize you could interact with it until I tried. And as far as I can tell, it didn't change the story at all. But that moment really, because I'm a happily married man, and that moment really made me identify with Henry in a way that I feel a film just wouldn't convey. Because that moment in Firewatch of that simple act of taking that Henry's wedding ring and putting it back on his finger is something that you can't have it that way in a film. Like you can't.
Well, especially because you're experiencing it as first person,
Right.
right? So it's your eyes that are
It's
looking down and
you.
picking up the ring
Yeah.
and then putting it back down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So and like that, it people may think, John, that's 4 years ago. You still think about that scene? Yeah, I do because it was the meaning of it behind it for me.
Yeah, it's funny. The actress who played Julia is one of my dearest friends, and every time we do like a con appearance together or something like that, she's like, "Did you pick me? Did you pick her?" I'm like, oh.
Well, we are bumping up against our time here. Cissy, I gotta say, you have been one of the most pleasant and just outright delightful guests we have had on this podcast in a long time.
Thank you.
And no, thank you, especially for, like we said, giving us that extra perspective that I think we need. And I know that the next time I'm in a conversation about like, oh, there's an Uncharted movie, or oh, look, there's a Halo movie, like you know, I know that I will bring up the fact that, hey, look, you know, we need to talk about the voice actors that originated these roles as well. Like, what happens to them? Like,
Thank
you know,
you.
do they get any credit? And that is something that I will take with me.
I really appreciate that.
No,
Thank you.
we appreciate you sharing that with us. A little bit
You're
of
raising your hand again.
Finn.
But sorry, John. Oh, go ahead, Finn.
No, Jeff, you go first, buddy.
No, I was just gonna say real quick again, just you know, aside from everything else, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I think this year, especially this year, for a lot of people, video games helps them kind of just escape from the real world or immerse themselves in another experience, and kind of it's a coping mechanism. And I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for bringing these stories and these characters to life, because it really makes a huge difference, and we really connect with them. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of talent to do that, and most people can't. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys are gonna make me cry at the end of this. That's not fair.
Oh, don't worry,
That's
I'm
what
about to
we
bring
did.
it back.
Oh God, I'm terrified now.
Look, you know what's coming because it's the question we have to end every interview with. And as much as John cringes every time, it's our gold standard.
Look at his
Sissy,
face. That is just the most like.
You already heard it before. It got spoiled because John can't just keep it reined in. So I have to ask, in your heart of hearts, if you have to choose, cake or pie?
Cake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love a
At
good
least,
cake.
at least the answer is good. The answer is proper.
The
'cause
answer is
most
the right
Do we
answer.
have a
most
consensus
pie-
on this? We never agree on anything.
no, most pie is trash. So
Whoa.
let's just
Listen, I make a mean apple pie. from
Apple
scratch,
pie
I'm just gonna
rules.
say.
Oh, look how quick John.
No, hold
retreats
on.
a second.
I said most
Apple pie
pie.
sucks.
I
No,
said
all
Can we
pie's
disagree?
terrible.
I said
Oh,
most
apple
pie.
pie?
The only
Oh,
good
okay,
pies,
most pie.
the only good pies are apple pie and key lime pie.
What about rhubarb,
Rhubarb.
pie?
Ugh.
What the
Ooh.
fuck?
Banana
You never
cream,
get rhubarb
son.
pie.
Dude, rhubarb is a vegetable. That shit has no place in a pie.
Banana
Um,
Put
cream
enough
pie.
sugar in it.
This is
Anything's
packed
good.
with sugar, and it's fucking amazing.
No.
I'm gonna mail you a rhubarb
Just-
pie from Canada. all the
Well,
way
Chad does not agree with John at all. Chad is
Well,
lighting him
Chad
up.
is
Let
wrong.
him have it. Let him
Chad is
fucking have it.
Chad is
Also,
wrong.
Thanksgiving's coming up, so pumpkin
Um,
pie proves you wrong too.
A few
Just saying.
quick housekeeping items, and then we'll get out of here. Don't forget, the first week of November, I am driving up to Derek's place, and we are going to do our 24-hour extra live stream. We're going to be playing some really terrible games for 24 hours. It's going to be just like we did last year. It's going to be gloriously shitty. And I mean, we're playing fucking Metal Gear Survive for you people, okay? Like, I mean, come on, please tune in and help us raise a little cash for children's hospitals. And also, it was I want to mention, since Cissy is here, I had the very great honor of joining her to help Megadads get out the vote. And considering that the final presidential debate was happening as this podcast was live, I just want to
Thank
say,
you for the distraction.
you know, like that's what we do. And you know, I just want please get out there and vote. This election is probably the most important of all of our lifetimes. We've got in my opinion, nothing less than democracy itself riding on this election. And it is extremely important that you get out there and make your voice heard, just like Cissy and I asked very politely for you to do. So
If you're mailing in your ballot, recommendation is to mail it in tomorrow.
Yep.
So
You
Get
can
on
also check to see if your area is doing early voting. Like my district just opened up early voting, so we're going tomorrow or Saturday to take care of that. So there's lots of options available to you.
don't let
but
anybody
make sure
tell
do
you
it.
don't let anybody tell you
Be safe.
that your vote doesn't matter. And don't let anybody discourage you from doing it. Nobody.
that's right.
I have
Um,
one housekeeping thing, John, if
all
you
right.
don't mind.
All right, gotta be quick.
Because I also am doing the separate Extra Life thing, but we are doing it at a different time than John, so that we will not be running concurrent. We are going to be doing Baldur's Gate 3 with chat deciding all options, which is always
Amazing.
going to be fun. And then finally, we have the couple more Finterviews going up soon, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
What's our show next week?
Our show
Oh.
next week is our Game of the Generation show, where we will tell you
Oh.
about the top 50 games of this generation. Firewatch might be part of that list. We don't know.
Oh.
You'll have to tune in tomorrow next week and find out.
Fucking 3-hour podcast. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like,
Buckle up.
it's gonna be a
This
literal.
will be a
We're all
shit
gonna be
show.
hammered. We're all gonna.
We're
There's gonna be a lot.
trashed by
There's
the
gonna be a
end,
lot
for
of
sure.
alcohol involved. We're all gonna be hammered. But yeah, our Game of the Generation show is next Thursday. So look forward to that. I know I am, sort of, so because I'm gonna be so hungover the next morning. All right. Well, thank you to everybody tuning in. Thank you to our wonderful guest Cissy Jones. You can find her on Twitter at Cissy Speaks. And like everybody said, thank you for giving voice to some of our favorite stories and characters this generation, Cissy. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for asking me to come and for being so lovely and welcoming. And thanks, chat, for all the great questions. And go out, do good, be kind.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great way to end it, because our motto is kindness costs nothing. Take care of each other, and we will see you next week.